coming back to talk about the credit card. So as far as I can tell, the history of the credit card goes back about 17 years. That's where I can track that. The department head for public health has had a credit card through the county. And other state employees as well that have a county credit card in the building. And the reason for this is basically for reimbursement purposes. It is, a way for the state. The state will not reimburse us directly. The funds are already in, like it's already budgeted for. All the expenses are already, so it doesn't cost the county anything because those, that money is already there. The other thing is there's like quite a bit of discussion about the county versus the state employee. I kind of look at it a little bit differently, as in that we are two entities that work together for our community members, and that's, I think, very important to note. The other thing is that you guys actually do pay 35% of my salary. So although I follow the state programs, I'm actually partly considered a county employee as well. I follow the policies and procedures through the county and the state programs. That is the same with Michelle. That is also the same as Krista. That's why the state considers her a county employee. So,
I got a question real quick. That's more for you guys, I guess. I mean, Vicki is in a similar type of situation, right? Where her salary is paid by the state, but we pay all the office expenses, basically, for her office. Does she have a credit card?
Yeah.
She does.
So I'm confused when you said that it's already in your budget. The credit card is random expenses, so how would that already be figured in your budget?
So it is already, so our money is already budgeted for those expenses. It is already in.
So I'll answer that. So what she's talking about is the funds to pay for that. Most of their expenses, their travel and stuff, is paid by a grant, and those funds are already in their accounts. Because the state pays for those out of the grant funds, and those are already in her account. The state's already given the county the money for those. They're already paid for in a grant. The county doesn't pay for any of her funds that she's going to pay for out of the credit card. The county has already agreed for those grants. The grants already spelled out. Her grants will pay for travel. That's what she's going to be using her credit card for, is travel. The money's already in their
So fuel, food, whatever, that's already figured in. Okay. That's just my question.
We're just a pass through.
Exactly.
Right.
It just
Yeah,
passes
and that's
through.
how it was when Lori was here too. Lori had a credit card.
So I guess what has come up to the bank's issue is that you're not a state employee. And so what they have come to us,
Or county
employee, pardon me, I'm sorry, thank you. Being a state employee, and I mean, we can play with the nomenclature, we can't fire you. We can't fire you.
That's good news.
But what I'm saying is,
I mean, we don't still.
I know, right?
so part of what the limit is if the credit card, something should happen, we are at an issue of where we go to rectify this. And I think we have policies that we can figure this out. We're still trying to figure out, where this goes and how this is done. I think there's some differences in and of the fact that versus the extension versus yours. Extension doesn't get a lot of grants.
Well, I know talking with other people in the county, like currently throughout the whole entire state, I'm the only department head that does not have a county credit card. So I don't know if something came up that had this concern, because I'm kind of getting from the banks that it's the other way around, that it's that it was more concern from here. Okay.
No, it came from the bank first.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Did her predecessor have a credit card?
Yeah, that's what I just said. Lori had one.
Go ahead.
I don't really have a problem with her having it. I mean, as long as she stays within her budget, it's her budget to use it properly as she deems it needs to be spent. And as far as us being liable for misuse of it, I wonder, that's where maybe our county attorney would come in handy for holding somebody else liable for misuse of a credit card, right?
And I think what our agreement would be is that you sign the agreement.
Absolutely.
And that it is used for the same purposes that everybody else has to fall in. So there wouldn't be any special. So if you have to go get special, you'll send the same form.
So I have a question about that too, because Michelle uses her county credit card as, like, she'll buy her client incentives from that through Amazon. So this, like, when she does her mama baby visits, they all get incentives as part of the program. So are you, I mean, I'm understanding that is something, as long as we are proactive with that and letting know, like, hey, this is what we want to spend this on, that is something that would be okay, or?
Yeah, so let me go back to the process here. So what we have an issue with is the Constitution. We are not supposed to pay for stuff that we don't. So we have to give approval before we pay.
Sure.
Okay? So what we're asking is that you get approval before we pay.
Sure.
So the credit card is gonna come through but we haven't seen an approval of what you're going to spend the money on. So what we want is the form to be filled out. You approve that you've filled it out so that we have an auditor allow us to, that we got pre-approval before we pay for it. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
So for traveling and stuff like that, would she need to just send an email or something that says, hey, this is coming up, just so you know?
So what I
I
have
don't know.
understood from the auditor is when it comes to travel and that kind of thing, that we have authorized in our policy, this is to be used for travel, meals, and we've given what the policy is on the meals, what the policy is on the tax structure and all that. And so we've already approved that in our policy.
So it's the outside purchase.
So it's the outside purchases
Beyond that.
of that. So we just want pre-approval so that we're falling within the Constitution.
So if you buy a printer on Amazon, that would be.
Fill out your form, get your approval, have us see that approval. We have to have that approval. Okay. We're working through this.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, no, I mean, I know you guys have your stuff you gotta cover too, and, we have nothing to hide, as far as like,
That's not our issue.
right. But I'm just saying, in the transparency part of it, I mean, it's kind of the same as it's always been, we might have the some of those, very few, again, from Amazon or something. But generally speaking, it's more so for the travel.
Well, we have real high hopes because we had interesting things that happened with the grants before. So that's why.
So, it's not clear to me through this email string, does First State refusing to issue?
They want the commissioners to approve the issuance.
Okay. I had a question for a member in the audience. Vicki, you have one that, right? First State Bank credit card?
Yes.
Yeah. Can we approve that? Well, we would approve the issuance of a credit card.
That's what I'm waiting for.
Second.
Okay.
And it would just to make it clear, it wouldn't just be for me though, it would be for Krista as well, because she's in the same spot I am. It's basically that the state will not reimburse us directly.
Okay, what we would just ask though, is that the same procedure. There will be no exceptions. We can't have one department have an exception and another one have another one. So we need to follow the same procedure for all the way across the board.
Absolutely.
Okay, as long as we know that. I had a motion. Did I have a second?
Yes, discussion.
Yes.
Do we need to authorize one for Kristen too?
Yes, it would be the same thing through the bank, yes.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, she just needs a form to take to Kristen.
No, that's just their pre-authorization. I'll get it from
Okay.
Jill and just have Marty sign it, or have Marty go over to the bank and sign it.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion?
To the chair, that's fine.
Oh,
I was just asking him on his motion, that you should be able to sign it.
Not the credit card, but the
No,
authorization.
right.
yeah,
Does the motion need to say for two of them?
I just said the public health, I think that would cover it.
So I would
Okay,
put two.
I'm good with that.
Are we okay?
Yeah, two.
What do you got for a motion?
Tony approved the public health and have a county credit card. Public health office.
2 cards.
Two
Put yes
cards.
on cards.
And Don asked me if I needed to add an authorized chairman's signature on that form.
That'd be okay. Is that okay with second?
Good with second.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Talking is so hard. Can't talk at all today. All those, that wanna say no, go ahead and yell it.
If you put it that way, I voted against the motion.
Motion has passed. All right, we'll get that signed for you. We'll get the forms for you to sign. Just would ask that you follow them. And the board asks you to come in because we don't quite understand what's going on here. And once again, just be proactive. Tell us first.
Sure.
Usually not gonna be a problem, but we don't wanna get it out of hand. We are doing so many Amazons, it's not funny. So.
Right, and I get that. Like, you're like, what? Yeah. I totally do understand.
And there could be an issue at some point where we are paying for stuff before we approved it.
Right.
So, okay.
Understand. And quickly, you were curious about the Comtronics that through the fire system, through public health last
Oh,
time.
yes.
So basically, that company it's just that. It monitors our fire system. It monitors our sprinklers every year. Basically, it's just all about they came with the building, kind of, sort of, so to speak.
Okay.
So that's really what that is about, is just the liability and monitoring that it's safe and working and functioning.
Okay, good enough. Thank you for that update, appreciate it. Let us know if we can help, otherwise, so you don't have to answer it.
I think it's better now. I think they went in there and worked on it again. So.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in
I
again.
appreciate you guys.
And having the discussion with us, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect, thank
Bye.
you.
Yeah, see you later.
All right. Go ahead.
And it's not been paid.
How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good morning,
State your name, please.
Vicki Heyman, Aaron Pershing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Teacher in me wants
I
all
just
the
wanna say-
attention of the board.
There's a teacher in you that just, there you go.
Well, Aaron and I came back today because we did discuss the cell station addition to existing phone system. And we're thinking we would really still like to do the cell station to have that additional phone at the CMP person's desk. But we are looking at waiting to add a cell line, or a phone line, which would have the additional, I think it's $50 a month, $600 a year fee. Because without a cell phone, or I'm gonna call it a portable phone right there at that desk, the Crystal Zerby is the new CNP educator that it will be half-time from Niagara County coming up. If she doesn't have at least a phone to use, even though she may have to wait for a line to get on, depending on how busy we are, she's either gotta get in Aaron's office, she's gotta come in my office, or she's gotta lean over at her station. And so at least that way she could conduct business at her desk. And again, that total price is the $1,133 to set up that unit, so we have an additional phone, portable phone in our extension office. And so that is what we are proposing for now, and we'd like discussion on.
Did you see the email from Randy?
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so this shows that you guys, that you already have 3 lines in there, so
And we've, yeah, I think we got the cart in front of the horse. And
Okay.
so, we've canceled that line, because I think Abby and I were trying to figure this all out.
Okay.
And so, 2 lines is my understanding. Now, Abby's been on vacation. And, so we should have the 2 lines back to the original price.
Okay.
Yes. But that did answer the question. Yes, we have a 3rd line available, obviously. So, yes, it did.
The infrastructure's in, but they're only paying for it.
Yep.
Right.
That was when I just talked to him not very long ago, and there's still 3 lines down there.
But are we
And
paying for
we're
what too?
paying, no, we're paying for all 3.
There was I think Gabby put in a work order to cancel
And-
it, is that correct, Erin?
After she left on vacation, so. Should have brought my calendar. I talked to him like last Monday, possibly after she was on vacation, and they removed that line. Go ahead.
Is it cheap? So the $1,000 deal, that's a one-time only. It pays for that phone system. Are you guys gonna be using, say one desk is gonna be on the same, not be able to use the same phone if somebody else at a different desk is using that same one?
That's my understanding.
Yeah, it'll be like it is now, like we have
Like
the
a
3
phone in your
phones and
house.
the 2
Right.
lines.
So I got a phone in my house. If I'm on one of the loose ones, my kid can't be on
Can't
that.
call.
So what was it costing to have that additional phone line?
It wasn't very much.
It's $50
$50
a
a
month.
month is what I understand. Yeah. So about, what, 600 a year? Do my
So-
math.
I guess what's better for you guys? Is it better to
It wasn't
drill a
very much.
hole through somewhere and get that phone line over to where you have an additional line, or is it better to potentially have a line locked up and not be able to make phone calls?
I think you have 3 phones and you have 2 lines. Any of those 3 phones, this cell phone station including, can access any of those 2 lines.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without the additional line.
Yes.
Because that's how it is now, is we have the 2 phone lines and our 3 phones. So 2 of us can be on the phone at the same time. And I'm assuming if we're both on the phone, like it just gives them a busy signal, like if you try to call in. And I'm guessing it rolls from the 353 line to the second line.
To that second line.
The 359.
Right. That's my understanding. Now,
So it's not a lack of, we need more phones, we just need somebody to have a phone at their desk is the only issue, that so that they're not going into other.
that would help. I mean, ideal would be this system with a 3rd line. But,
That's where I'm confused about it all, I guess.
right, well, like when you're, say, there's you and your wife, now pick a daughter, one of the daughters. 3 of you are at home and 3 of you want to use the phone, but you only have 2 lines. So you and your wife are on a line, your daughter's gonna wait until one of you 2 is off to make her phone call. And that's what happens with us. I mean, when we had an intern this summer, not only was she either in our office or over our shoulder using our phone, but she had to wait, so sometimes we're stacked up, sometimes we're not. How many, do you get in the?
We don't all have our own line. We would love to all have our own
Yeah,
line.
that'd be
but,
ideal, like
I
she
mean,
said,
we just
but,
all have to wait till a phone's available.
and that's kind of what we do. We've been taking turns. I mean,
And we kind of thought we could see how, adding that 4th person into the office halftime is gonna, if, we're constantly waiting for, then it maybe does make sense
I
to
mean,
add
there's
that third.
4 of us, and you just have to wait for a phone to be available.
Can you,
and that's what we've been doing, so.
No, you're fine.
can you tell with this system, like, if she's over in her office, she can tell that somebody's on it and
It just lights, like, the line.
shows
If somebody's
red that
talking,
somebody's
yeah,
on.
it's red, like
Yeah.
if they're using the
Sure.
line, and then it, I think is green, like when it rings in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I can see what you're saying. So somebody isn't being productive, they're waiting their
We're
turn and
just
doing
waiting.
whatever until,
And not having any idea of kind of what, like, type of phone
with adding the CNP, because it's been a long time since there's been a CNP in this office, and so that's we kind of discussed. I'm not sure at this point, like adding the third line. Yes, it's nice, but if we need to wait for like our new budget and put that in, and when we do our budget request in May for next year.
And that was this is above and beyond what you've put in
Yes.
for your
Oh,
budget
yeah.
then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's
that's kind of what was our thinking is we'll play with the two phone lines. If it's crazy and it's not working come time to write in our budget for 23, we will write it into the budget, into the proposal in May. You guys approve it in June, and then we would go through that process. At this point, if we could just have the addition of the phone so that she would have access to a phone without trying to share Abby's desk phone.
So right now, I think what they're asking is just to have that.
Just the additional
Just
phone.
this additional phone.
You want the 1,100 or
33.
30, what, how
Yeah,
much it was?
$1,133.
That's the one. That's all
And
you're
then-
asking for right now.
Yes.
Test that system
Yes,
with the new budget.
we'll see where.
We'll see what can happen, how I would keep good records,
Yes.
but I think that's what they're asking. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Is Michael the annex budget czar?
Yes,
I would,
and that was my other question too, Tony, is do we go through the annex budget or do we need to come through some other budget because we don't have it in the extension budget?
Have to do the annex.
there's what?
Definitely not in there.
And
There's not
repairs and
cushion in
maintenance,
there.
they burned it
Well,
Is it burned up?
let me see. That's.
And
Which line is that at? Point? You got to be Adam for a moment.
31.
Theirs is-
21,000.
That's where all of
So, I think where this is kind of a,
That's $3,300.
and they're cleaning and all of that.
Jen- The general annex communications, we're taking snow removal out?
Let me see.
No,
Where
that's
did you
gonna be
see
repair
that?
and maintenance.
That's not where you said it.
communications are existing phone bills.
Right.
I guess I would move to take that out of repair and maintenance and request that you please let Michael know. So if we need to, if he's already got that budgeted for snow removal or something, we can adjust that, but that's the place that needs to come out
give me a
of.
number, please, so when I look at
100, period, 00, period, 31, period, 00, 21, 0, 0, 0, period, 0, 0, 0, 0.
Okay, thank you.
There's a motion on the table, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to take. What's the exact number? $1,133 out of line item of general annex repair and maintenance. Any discussion? Go ahead.
It does say that price plus tax and shipping and handling. Now that I'm looking at my exact, sorry, now that I'm
Then
looking
you're
at.
gonna have to do some negotiation.
I'm just
We're
like,
not
oh!
paying tax for
So
it.
there's $3,000.
Well, we should be
in that
tax
still.
exempt, correct?
Yeah.
So I
No, we
don't
don't
know
take
if there's
that.
any shipping and handling, to be honest, but I'm just looking at this proposed.
Well, I will change my motion to just authorize the purchase of the cell tower station out of that budget.
I would ask that you do have them not charge us tax though.
Yes.
That is okay with me.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? It's okay, I'm glad you brought it up.
Look closer.
Reemphasize, let Michael know that that's coming out of there, and if we need to adjust that budget, have him come do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Hearing no other discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
we'll have
Yeah.
Crystal come up and
Well,
discuss
I,
the need for-
at least if
will
we
you
don't have to
email me?
come in my office or someone else's office or
This-
make Abby get up and move from her chair.
Martin wrote on here, but we
Well,
also
I'm
have
hoping that'll
email.
And you
help.
take wherever
Do you
it
have a
needs to be,
couple
the phone
minutes,
needs
or-
needs to go to.
And then they can also.
Probably take a couple minutes, but I have a feeling that whatever this board decides to do could cause some turmoil if we go one route or a different route. I don't know. Wanna, Jeannie, would it bother you to take 5 minutes of time for a different subject?
Nope, I'm good.
Is that okay with you guys?
Yep. That's okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
guys.
Thank you.
If you have the time and would like, we have tumbleweeds from 4 to 5 on Thursday at the Extension office, and on Friday, we have a new program called Food Fun and 4-H we put in for an elbow grant and we got it. So we're cooking at the 4-H office with a whole bunch of the 4-H kids Friday. So if you're interested, stop by.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
So, we had a landowner go through our process of wanting to establish a county road. And through that process, part of that county road goes through a short chunk, about a quarter mile, I think, of Forest Service ground. The Forest Service is okay with us converting that into county road. However, we have to fill out a 299, which is a form that they then go through, and then we have to maintain said county road to Forest Service standards, which I'm not 100% certain that those standards are necessarily very high, looking at some of them across the town.
Editorial.
But the issue now stands that, is that something that we want to tackle? Can we, that chunk of Forest Service road is the very first part of that road, can we not tackle that section? Because it's already public access road, and tackle the section beyond that so that those landowners now have legal access and an ability to borrow money to build on said properties through second mortgages, things like that. You know, the unfortunate thing is, and this happens more than it should, is people sell land and then find out, the new owners, that they don't have the things that they should have had when they bought it. So they did the due diligence of doing what we asked them to do.
So they did a petition?
Yeah, and so now I'm at a crossroads of what we want to do, because if you did this 299, can we just consider that chunk of road already Forest Service road and extend our county road another half a mile past that without annexing in that section of Forest Service road? Because it's already public access.
I think without having the county attorney here for some of that, I know we did everything. I'd like to see maps and everything. Go ahead.
Can the Forest Service change their mind and not grant public access at some point?
I
We
don't
have an MOU.
think so. They actually did supply maps with the.
So once it's accessed, they can't take that away. I'm only saying that because in the future, somebody.
In theory, yeah. But who knows in the world we live in.
Normally what we have is an MOU. We sign an MOU.
So the petition is right here, I think.
We're almost, it looks like a 2/4, so it's half mile.
240.
2/40 of federal. And then I don't think this road, that road just goes straight north now, doesn't it, Nate?
Yeah, and it dead ends at the county line.
So that's down there.
It says right here, if you can take a look, we can discuss and see what we can work out. Looking at the map, it appears it is all open road to the southeast corner of Mike's property, where National Forest Service Road 1248. So he can't road to his property already.
Can, but the title companies don't look at it that way. Is the issue. that they're running into. And now I can't find that petition.
Do you need me to go print something off?
Do you have a copy of that
Well,
petition
did
that
they
they?
email something to us at one point, or no?
Yeah, he emailed that petition to us.
County road statutes.
Could be under Title 24.
Mike did, Nathan?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It had the maps, it had all the signatures, I mean,
Okay, well, I think probably it should have its own agenda item on at a meeting. It should have its own agenda. And we give it the proper 15 minutes, that anybody that reads the agenda would know what we were asking to do.
Established in Norton Road.
In addition to, or, and have those available for public view.
okay, here it is. That would show you, if you want to look at it, Marty, the piece of ground that is accessing. That's the map on their petition.
Thank you.
It's that 240s of Forest Service, and then access beyond that. And I realize part of this could lead to a situation where the next guy down the road says, well, what about me? But in my opinion, it's one of those deals where it's an unmaintained county road, and if you designate it a county road, but you're not gonna get maintenance on it. So you're gonna have to deal with it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's my question, is like this Form 299 that we have to fill out, we have to maintain it to our county road standard, basically.
Oh, to the Forest Service.
To the Forest Service standard.
Yeah.
So that's what led me to the thought to bypass and go county road from private property beyond that, and because it's already a public access road.
And I think there are instances where there's county roads that are, don't
Aren't
start off
itemized
a highway, or, they just go between two sections of Forest Service.
I don't know.
I think there's,
That's gonna be an interesting conversation
Okay.
at any point, that somebody could shut access off, but you're not allowed to shut, I mean, we're going through that right now. We're having somebody shut off an access to a county road.
down south.
Yeah.
So, to move forward, the gentleman's looking for an answer. I mean, he went through our process. Now we're at this weird place because the Forest Service has their process that we, to my knowledge, I didn't think we knew of. That the way I read it in the statutes was we can pretty much push a road if the public deems it a viable idea to push a road or a viable solution to a problem. But so either we go the 299 route or we get some good legal advice as to what can we just bypass that piece of ground, and because it's already public access, and stretch another short chunk of county road up there that's not maintained for these individuals so that they can now borrow money to build on. I don't know.
I'm gonna go the legal route, I'm sorry.
Yeah, which both may be, I don't know.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Can the Forest Service, even though that's been public access for years, can they deem it closed?
I don't think so.
That's what I was asking.
You have those threats all the time of, we're gonna close this road down, we're gonna close this road down.
This roadless area.
Or this is gonna be a roadless area, or this, I mean, we have those
Yeah.
threats
And
constantly.
you're developing the community.
And so,
If you took it, then you would avoid all that, wouldn't you?
I think our conversation would be is, I mean, we have, if we go this route, pardon the pun, but that we have to have it in, again, I used another pun and I apologize, but we have to have it in concrete that can't happen. So we either have a 25-year MOU, or we have a 100-year MOU, or whatever we do. I don't want that to happen. We went through that with the Keaton Road. I mean, we had to establish that was a county road, just keep it that way. Even though we weren't probably going to maintain it at all, we wanted it on the records. That is a county road, it says an established county road, and it'll stay that way until further notice. I mean, we're kind of doing it the other way now. That was already established. Now we're trying to come back in and do it. So I want to do it so that the rug can't get pulled out from underneath us. And I don't know which way that is. I would like to have.
I mean, sorry.
No, you're fine.
It was stated to me by the Forest Service gentleman that if you have property, it's like anything, they cannot legally deny you access to your property on the other side of that. They can force you around potentially,
Which you can do on this one, can you?
but you're talking multiple mile or another mile probably of road.
But I'm not sure they care about that.
Yeah, I don't know. But we lost Gina.
Thank you.
So I think,
This one?
do you wanna get it back on the
Yes.
agenda
Yes,
and
I'd
have
like to.
Michael and,
And I want a half an hour.
okay.
That's what I want.
I guess my thought is I'd like to get the question answered, and I'd like to get legal access established.
Exactly.
The way
So
that
it
we
can never be denied.
Right.
and not necessarily create a concept where we're, like you said, we're kind of what you did for this guy. You know, it would be nice if we could either pick that county road up just north of that Forest Service leaves, if that's gonna make that, or just establish that as a county road, as an unmaintained county road, and it would be
Oh.
maintained basically at our unmaintained county road standards.
So I guess what I'd like is our legal counsel to be able to tell us the pros and cons of both ones. To say this way or this way. And then let us have that decision. But with the wherewithal that we have discussed it, we have gone down and got our opinion. It's always an opinion. So I'd like a half an hour.
Yeah, I mean, if it was one individual up there, this is affecting multitudes of people that it would benefit the community if they could. So, I think it's worth,
Next meeting.
Yep. Half hour, please.
and I'll see if, would we like the concerned landowner to maybe
Yes,
zoom in and, okay.
I'd like to invite the Forest
I do
Service
too.
to come too, or the guy that's gonna, so if we've got,
Sign on the dotted line.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie.
Sorry.
You're up, Jeannie. Can't hear you.
We lost connection.
Now we got her back.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, we lost video there for a minute, so I think we're back.
It's Walter's fault.
I was gonna blame Nathan, but.
Who can I blame, right?
Okay, go ahead. We're
Alright.
listening.
So, I didn't know how you guys wanted to proceed forward, but I talked a little bit with Nathan last week when he got a copy, and he was thinking maybe the best way to go about it today would just be for me to just give a general kind of update on what I did. I did do that 2-page letter that kind of outlined a little bit about some of the ideas that I put in and kind of where we're at. I did provide a copy of the draft to the elected officials and the department heads as well last week. And so I've been getting some good feedback from them. Some of it was just, some typographical kind of things I need to fix. There were a couple that had some questions on when certain types of leave started applying, or so there's been some good feedback, and not a lot. I did get with the elected and department heads a couple different times throughout the process to get their input on what they thought they needed or what they had questions on, and so I feel like I got some good input on that as well. Just to kind of outline, I did several different policies in relation to what I call legal compliance, and you guys had a couple of these sections already, like You already had an equal opportunity employer and American Disability Act policy, but I went ahead and I expanded that to outline a little bit more on those. I added a public records request policy. You guys didn't have one of those. It's not real detailed, but I did include one of those, and I included the public records form that we had approved a while back. So that was part of it. Some of the legal compliance sections are based around state Wyoming statutes, like the anti-nepotism statute. I included something on that. So anyway, I went through the alcohol drug-free workplace policy you guys had in regards to that, but I expanded it to just elaborate a little bit. So again, there's quite a few different policies that I kind of categorize in that legal compliance, those that are required under federal law or state statutes. So I did that. And talking with department heads and electeds, they liked the previous manual that you guys used to have, where it had some sections on like attendance and expectations for work performance and those sorts of things. And so under policies 400 to 409 or 410, those were generally what I call workplace conduct policies. So I included some of those. And we talked quite a bit with having those policies in place, so it gives elected and department heads talking points with their employees, like here are the expectations. I mean, they're pretty general and basic, but sometimes it's nice to have those outlined. I went ahead and probably the couple sections I think we still really need to look at and work on is the vacation leave section and perhaps the sick leave section. And kind of what my thought was after talking with Nathan last week is, again, I'm getting some good feedback from department heads and electeds as they're going through this. And they've identified a couple areas that they think need to be explained better. And so I think we can do that. And so my thought was is perhaps after today, maybe later in the week, I would come over and meet with the elected and department heads, try to figure out exactly where they have questions and see if I can get a consensus among that group, and then bring it back to you and see if you guys are okay with that. The vacation section, it seems that different departments do that differently right now. Some allow you to start accruing your, say, 8 hours of vacation when you start right away. Some say you have to work a full year before you can start getting, taking vacation. Some say that at the beginning of the calendar year, you get your banking time for the year, starting, let's say, January 1st, so that you can use your vacation time at any point during the year. So it seems like departments do it differently, so that'd be the one area I need to see if we can hammer that out. So that's kind of what I've done. There was a section I added in there on benefits, because that seemed to be a question that people had is, what are our benefits and how does that look? And so I've asked Becky and Amber to take a good look at that section to make sure that it accurately reflects what we currently do in Weston County. I had to guess on a couple things, so I'm not sure if they're accurate. But anyway, that's kind of how I outlined it and put it together. I don't think there's a lot of controversy with the department heads and the electeds on the majority of them. Again, I think it's mostly just that vacation leave section for one that needs to be clarified. One other thing was you guys grant 2 days of personal leave for employees each year. They can take it for any reason, and so a question came up is, when do they accrue that? Do they have to work a certain amount of time before they start getting their 2 days, or does that just automatically go to them? So anyway, just some little things like that I think we need to add in. And I was listening to Sarah Gregory just a minute ago when you guys were talking about the credit card policy. I just put a generic credit card policy in there, knowing that you guys were working on that, but I think to address the situation with public health and extension and those things, we could just add a paragraph in. When a state employee uses a county credit card because the money's guys, we could add a paragraph and clarify some of that too. And I do think we need to probably create a couple forms that would be just really helpful, like donated sick time, a form for that if an employee's going to donate that to another employee. It sounds like it's a written thing that someone does now.
We have a
Just
form,
some
I'll
forms I
send
think
it
would be
to you.
helpful.
We have a form, Jeannie, I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay, great. I think one of the departments thought they just had to write something out, so okay, sounds good. Good to get that so I can take a look and at it.
Are there any?
So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. I know it's pretty lengthy to read, and I don't know if all of you guys got through it. I again, there were some sections that I kind of added language in, that's, we need to obviously make sure you guys are okay with for the long haul.
Okay, go ahead. Nate's got something for you.
One of the thoughts Jeannie and I kind of kicked around was if two of the commissioners can maybe be there when the department heads are there, so that we can figure out a time that works for everybody and then go through it then, and then whatever good ideas come out of that or bad ideas or whatever we dislike, then we can bring it to the board, that commissioner or two commissioner, whatever that
Thank you for volunteering.
enjoys it.
Go ahead.
This might be a dumb question, Jeannie, but under that personal time leave where it says employees will not receive any payment for unused personal leave days / hours upon separation, does that mean they could leave or termination? Because you didn't use termination of employment. Is that either or?
Yeah, it'd be either or. That's a good point. I can clarify that.
I was just wondering if they left on their own with notice, if that would still disqualify them. That was the question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, those are the kind of things that some of the department heads have caught already too.
Okay.
So I'm hoping, like, through these discussions, if we have those things, we'll just clarify it so that hopefully it's not an issue later. So that's great.
Okay, one of the questions I have is if you have an employee move from one department to another department, how is it handled with the vacation if it's different in each department?
Yeah, so that'll be something we'll have to talk about. I did add a section because that was one area that someone had mentioned about transferring from one department to another. I don't know necessarily that was spelled out in the previous handbook, so I did include a section on that. And that'll be something that we'll have to think through. I guess, with the vacation time, you could potentially, as a county, decide on one way to do it. Either accrue it right after, if you work a month, get 8 hours, and you can build it up to the point if you want to take a week's vacation, then you might have to work a little ways until you can get that. Or you could decide that you're going to get that lump sum at the beginning, and we could add a clause that says, in the event that you use your vacation and you quit or you're terminated, any extra vacation time that you were given, you have to pay back to the county. There's a provision like that with the sick time. If let's say they don't have sick time, but they have to take a couple days and they quit, then they are obligated to pay the county back for that. There is a provision under the sick leave time, but not under the vacation. So the other thing that I talked with a couple of the electeds about is, some of them prefer you get a chunk of time at the beginning of the year. So let's say you get 96 hours in a year for vacation. Some of them say, okay, employee, come January 1, you get your 96 hours and you can use it however you want for the next year. Potentially, the county could develop a policy on how they're going to have their department heads run that. The elected could potentially opt to do something different because they're an elected. But it would, obviously be easier if everybody did the same way, just for consistency and, people would know. But yeah, I think that's, Marty, that's one of the areas that, we have to work through, and we have to think about the potential consequences if we opted one way or the other. It does potentially grant an employee vacation time come January 1 that they haven't yet earned for the year. And is that something that you guys, want to have them reimburse you for if they leave, or do you just not even want to do it that way? But I think that's a good discussion with the department heads and electeds, and I guess potentially the electeds could opt to do something different, even if they did adopt the rest of the policies.
Okay, we'll leave you to go through those negotiations. Go
And
ahead.
I did talk to LGLP. They said that they could get through it by the middle of next week. To make sure that they don't see any issues with it. So I was thinking about perhaps coming over roads to clear up here on Thursday. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, if I can get the electeds and department heads together for a meeting on Thursday, if that would work, or we could potentially do it next week. I'm not sure what the timeline is for you guys wanting to try to adopt some of it or all of it. If you want to try to get another good version, almost a complete version, and everybody agreeable by December 1st, I'd say we need to meet here in the next week or so, or for the next meeting. If you're thinking more December 15th-ish, or that second meeting, we can work towards that as well.
I think the board would like it before the first of the year, wouldn't we? I mean, just to start with a clean slate and not have some residual. What were you going to say?
Do we have any departments that allow comp time?
Yeah.
Yep. So there's a pretty big difference on that too.
Is that addressed in this manual?
mentioned to you last time is that under your guys' accounting process, and Becky could answer this more fully, the employees just report their sick time use to you guys when you do payroll. They don't report vacation or comp time. And so, that's another area that I think, you kind of want to know what's hanging out there, I would think, from an accounting perspective, because, comp time is one that you have to pay out if they want it paid out. And so there's potentially that, I know one of your policies says you can only carry so much forward. But, push comes to shove and somebody has more or whatever, you guys can be held for that. So, yes, there, some departments allow comp time, and they, I haven't pinned all that down, but they do it differently.
Thank you.
And again, each department is tracking the comp time and the vacation for each employee, and again, that's not reported to you guys or on time cards, which might be something, if you had the right software, you could, have people put all that stuff into the time clock and time cards, and be able to track that better. But right now, I understand you guys don't have that capability.
Go ahead, Nate.
What do we do with an employee like the maintenance position that doesn't necessarily have a department head that has to take certain times of the day off because they've already worked their time to avoid like overtime and stuff? I mean, that is another aspect.
Well, so those departments that don't necessarily have a technical supervisor, I would say that they're under directly you guys as commissioners, because there isn't a supervisor. And so again, that employee would be tracking their time that they worked and would, be reporting back like, hey, I worked like 40 hours this week, and I'm going to go over with comp time. Is that approved? And typically, there is you can have them sign a form if they understand they have to go comp time approved and that sort of thing. So we could create something like that. But because that position doesn't have a direct supervisor, their supervisor fees collectively. So.
Okay, go ahead.
Does that
And I would have to say, trying to put this together, there was some gray area. I mean, it's kind of like that public health issue. Are they county employees? Are they state employees? How does that mesh together? And I think that with Tara at the fair, I mean, that's kind of a hybrid as well. And so, really going to have to kind of flush out who's under the county, who's under the state, who's under a board. Is their position governed by the county commissioners because you guys give them some money? So there are a couple of those instances too. I think we need to flush out.
I'll have something to say about that after Nate's done. Go ahead.
So in a position like that maintenance deal where we basically put a lot of faith in a person that they're honest and trustworthy and they're doing what they're saying they're doing and they're writing down their own time and stuff like that, do you think that it'd be better under say the clerk to somebody that's actually in the courthouse more often than commissioners?
I'll be shaking your head.
I guess it would come down to whether another position or another department head or elected feels like they provide that supervision. Again, it would just require some good communication with whatever position that is. I mean, looking at you guys' structure, I mean, I think everybody else has a supervisor. Well, Gilbert would be one that doesn't necessarily. Well, the sheriff, I think, is probably his supervisor, so that might take care of that piece, and he would report to the sheriff with that kind of stuff. I was trying to think if you had any other positions that are similar than to the maintenance.
Road and
That might be
bridge
the only
foreman.
one. That might be the only one.
Road and bridge foreman. The road and bridge foreman.
No. I mean, like Mallow, they have a board. Kara has a board. I mean, they all have someone that they answer to. Steve was basically the only one that didn't have someone. I mean, he would let me know when he was going to be gone or, if he was going to come in early and stuff like that. So, kind of actually not really
You're in that role.
Yeah, he really never answered to me. He just would always let me know where he was going to be.
Jeannie, this is Tony. First of all, thanks. It's a much improved version, I think. I know you put a lot of work into this. I would I guess I would keep encouraging you to work with the electeds on this. And so as much of this policy as we can get tied together into a solid policy. So if people have different vacation policies in their office, if we could come to a consensus at the department head to turn it into one policy, you know, even if it's not everybody's in favor of it, but if we've got a large majority that are, let's try to do that and try to make that as clear as we can. That'd be my only comment going forward.
Okay, and the comment that I wanted to make is on the credit card policy, all I want is consistency. So what I don't want to have run in this situation of, but you let me do it, or you let my department do it, or but I have the exception over here. What we just want is one across the board, and it's a living document in the fact that we're still learning, but that's what we're after. So I understand the different state versus this one, just as long as the policy is consistent.
I have to say that the electeds and department heads have been really good. You know, like I said, I met with each of them and tried to get some input initially, and then I got back together with most of them and, you know, just tried to figure out. They've done a nice job of telling me where they feel like things aren't spelled out very well and where they need clarification. And so I think it's going to help a lot just to go in and put these different clarifications in. It will, I think, help Becky, because it seems like Becky is the one that kind of got off most of these questions, and hopefully, you know, we'll have it written down and it'll just make everybody's job easier.
And I can send you the credit card policy too that the board just approved, because they made an update to the credit card policy that they had already issued, along with that pre-authorization credit card form.
Okay.
Thank you, Becky.
That sounds good. I knew you guys were working on one, I just didn't know you got it finalized, so I can include that in there, and then I'll see if there's any gaps or loopholes, or if we need to create a different form or whatever to make it work.
Exactly. Go ahead, Tony.
On that, where we've got different types of employees, or we've got some that are paid by the state partially, or is there some way that we can, I don't know. I mean, how do you make this apply to everybody, or do some people get exempted? Like, it would just, like the federal government, I think we ought to just standardize everything. Make one size fits all policy.
I would say where you have a pass-through budget, you know, those are probably more likely state employees, because you guys are just the ones that the money passes through and then you distribute it. So I would say they're probably more of a state employee and follow the state employee handbook. Where you have those where you guys pay partial, you know, partial salary and that sort of thing, that's where it gets a little bit blurrier. Luckily, you don't have too many of those positions, so it'd just be a matter of trying to work through with that.
Like the library.
So I guess I've got an easy answer for you on that. I think we got Sarah that you guys pay partial.
I guess, Jeannie, what we need is a deterrent mechanism. So, you know, an assurance that if fraud should occur, that the XYZ will happen, or just how we need to know. Because what the bank said is that we become responsible. So I think we just need something in there that says this comes back on the person using the card. Do you see what I'm saying?
So we need a little supplement handbook.
Yeah, something to that effect that gives us the ability to turn back and say, wait a minute.
What was the supplemental page?
A supplemental page or something that gives them some type of, you know, some kind of deterrent.
Okay, yeah, I can include multiple lines on that, and I think we can flesh that out.
Perfect, thank you. Go ahead, Don.
Jeannie, wouldn't it normally already kind of be in place, or for example, a contractor, if a contractor comes to work and they shovel the walks at the courthouse, if they're a contractor that works for the county, is that kind of what they're saying is that they would sign an agreement that they would follow the policies and procedures of the county and abide by them in order to work for them?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I mean, if they're truly a county employee, let's say you have a road and bridge employee that's out shoveling your walk. I mean, clearly they'd be under your policies. But if you have a contractor,
Yeah, an outside person.
that's outside of the county, I mean, they're going to be governed by that employer. You know, and I guess like let's say they slipped and fell or something like that. I mean, that would be again, you'd look to see what role they were playing and that sort of thing. But as far as the credit card piece, I mean, there is some protections with credit cards if there is fraud, where the credit card will step in and do some of that. So it would kind of depend the facts there. But, you know, quite frankly, I mean, you guys are the ones that it's your credit card. And so if somebody does something, I mean, potentially you could be on the line. I think we could put up some language in the policy that talks about, you know, each employee that uses a credit card, you know, can be prosecuted for improper credit card use or whatever if that arises. I mean, we can add some lines in that. I don't know if that answers your question, Don, but
No, that does.
no, if it's a contractor, they would just be under their contractor's business, not yours.
Okay, go ahead.
You know, on the credit card thing, there's got to be that definition between fraud and misuse. I mean, that's
Right.
you know, if your number gets hacked or something, that's definitely fraud. But if the employee misuses it, that's in that definition. And then, like with the contractors, if we don't sign their paycheck, the handbook does not pertain to them.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Ron. I mean, there's a difference between misuse and fraud, so, yeah. And that's just gonna be one of those where, I mean, again, we're just gonna have to, you know, just keep on track of, you know, charges on a credit card and make sure everybody is following along, so.
Right, I mean, a large responsibility also falls onto the commissioners too. So, I mean, we all have to take an equal share in this. So, okay, is there anything else? Go ahead.
Jeannie, I can't Thursday. I mean, somebody else may be able to.
Okay, what about Friday?
Got an appointment.
Okay, so Thursday and Friday would work. How about
Friday
Monday
might.
and Tuesday?
Friday might work for him.
Oh, okay. So Friday might work for you guys?
I can try.
Okay.
Don can try, so we can try.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we can try.
Okay, let me send out a notice, and maybe we'll try Friday morning for an hour or two, and then, like I said, maybe we can flesh out a couple of things, and if we need to, I can meet again next week with whoever can, and we'll just try to keep working towards the next meeting and getting a better draft all the time.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. Is there anything other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Jeannie.
Jeannie.
Thanks, Jeannie.
Guys, drive safe out there.
You too. Bring warm weather when you come on Friday.
I'm gonna try.
Thank you.
See ya.
So I would assume that every employee that would be under our payroll would want to get out of this handbook, right?
Yes.
I was trying to remember, do we pay Caleb? Correct.
We do.
Well, he's on our payroll, he just comes out of the
1%.
1%. But he is on our payroll, he gets insurance and everything.
Yeah, I think Kara is too, right?
She is now, yes.
So we do have an interesting thing with the
In the library.
airport.
Todd is half of his.
You know, any of those that are receiving funds, whether, you know, if they have a copy of this,
So,
you know, there's gonna have to be some gray area in there, but at least they'd have an idea, this is what's expected of them.
the library is under our insurance. All of their employees.
And their pay is
Just their
through our
insurance, not
block
their pay.
grant.
It's a block grant.
Oh, yeah, so their funds all come
Yeah, they're
from
funded
us.
through us.
It's a block grant.
I would think ideally we could get all these boards to sign on to this and say, hey, this is the employee handbook, and
Well, that way there's a consistency. And you don't have that interesting thing that happens between, this one gets this one gets this, and then we have some
or raises and no raises.
animosity.
Well, and she just said,
Go ahead.
You know, I think it'd be great for the boards, because, you know, the boards are all volunteer people anyway, this is something that's, you know, that they can have in their toolbox to use for their employees.
I think that would be appreciated by
Yeah.
everyone. Go ahead.
in public health, they just said all of their employees are county employees. So there's 3 of them there.
Some variation of, and we know one is. Okay. All right, I think We've explored a lot of things, go ahead.
What happens if you have, say, Mallow, and because they're in a different situation in the airport or whatever, if their employee can't come to a consensus of the way we want to do comp time and things like that. I mean, because they're running their own board and they're trying to do it the best they seem fit, and you allow, you try to find that, how that works outside of our employee manual. Because Caleb is not really, we don't supervise Caleb.
They do, yeah, go ahead.
Maybe a solution to that would be a supplemental page that
Right,
Mallow board opt out of the comp time will be handled by the Mallow board. By your boards, by that whoever's governing body over that would fall under them, which would remove them from the policy handbook, but yet that would be cut and dried that the comp time policy falls back onto that board.
so you could do the same with the fairs.
Yeah,
And,
any of them.
but you could also give that, what they come up with, that they have to have an approved way they do it, and bring that forward to the Board of County Commissioners too, so that we understand
But
also.
But the Fair Board is following your guys' policy, they already have said that,
Yeah.
so that one.
But
I mean,
any
but
of
if there's
them
a
boards, that way they could have it in cut and dried that they have assumed that they're responsible for that policy in their department.
Go ahead, Tom.
Would that also, looking down the road, would that also work for like a joint powers board or like the county district?
I think it could fall under there, you just have to have, lawyers have to look at it, but it's a supplemental page that this is one thing that is excluded from this handbook that actually falls under that board's jurisdiction.
See, and I think you would have to have something interesting on the joint powers because you have a dispatch. I mean,
Right.
that's, if they're becoming the employer or the employer, then they would have to have something interesting because it's 12-hour shifts. Go ahead.
I think, any elected official could take this or leave it, or a portion of it or leave it, I would think.
It says in there.
Yeah, but kind of speaking of Nate's deal, to me, it would seem reasonable to ask that if you decide to change your comp policy from the standardized form, that you have that on file at the clerk's office or somewhere that, we're not going by this comp policy, we're going by this comp policy and this employee has signed this. And so, at least we have a record of what's happening and what policy they're following.
But I think mostly what you have is record of when something happens. It can be fall back on when they terminate or they leave or whatever. That you have something that isn't, well, she said, he said, well, when I did this and that one happened over here. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Seems like, I get what you're saying, but it's almost like you're breaking off of what you're putting together here. Like we're gonna have all these little policies again, or it could go that way if we're not careful.
But I don't think he was. I think it was the special. Go ahead.
Because you got Kara and Caleb that have massive workloads at certain times of the year, and then certain times of the year their workload is way less, and so you gotta bear in mind that their workload isn't the same as Becky's workload on a 8 to 4:30 time slot or whatever.
Okay. I think we're gonna have a good product when it's done. All right. Is there anything else that needs to, public comment? You're welcome.
It wasn't my fault.
Duly noted. I'm not saying that. Duly noted. Is there
What wasn't? That's the question.
Zoom crash.
Is there anything else that needs to be brought before this board? Hearing none. Meeting is adjourned.